Hey, friend. Welcome to Health by Design. I'm so glad you're here. Around here, we keep it simple, practical, and powerful. You weren't built for comfort, you were designed for more. Today, I want to try something kind of wild with you. We're going to take foods that show up in scripture and look at them with modern science eyes. By the end, you'll have 7 tiny experiments you can try this week and a new way to see your pantry. Ready? Let me start with questions that make me grin. What if a 2,600-year-old bread recipe quietly solved a nutrition puzzle we didn't officially name until modern labs? What if honey, the jar in your cabinet right now, isn't just candy, but medicine in disguise? Why do grapes and pomegranates keep showing up in both the Bible and heart studies? What do figs and dates do for your gut? And is there a way to enjoy them without that sugar crash? Why does olive oil change blood numbers in weeks, not years? And what in the world does a covenant of salt have to do with blood pressure and your thyroid? If any of those made you say, wait, what? We're thinking the same way. Step into the kitchen with me. In the book of Ezekiel, there's a bread formula that sounds like a grocery list: wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt. Looks ordinary, right? Here's the twist: grains are usually a little low in a tiny building block of protein called lysine. Beans and lentils are rich in lysine, but a bit lighter in some other building blocks. When you mix them, grain plus legume, their pieces cover each other's gaps. Scientists call this complementary proteins, but you don't need the term. Think puzzle pieces. Grains have one shape, beans have the other shape, and when you put them together, click, you get the full picture. Newer lab scorecards actually grade protein by two things. Does it have all the pieces your body needs, and how well can your body use them? That old Bible combo was doing it long before we had a scorecard. If you've seen modern Ezekiel bread, a lot of versions are made with sprouted grains and legumes. Sprouting is just waking the seed up with water so tiny plant enzymes turn on. One of those enzymes chips away at a substance that normally holds on to minerals like iron and zinc. When that substance gets cut down, those minerals are easier for your body to use. Sprouting can also nudge up certain vitamins in some of those protein pieces. It's not magic, and breads made with wheat and spelt still have gluten. So they're not for people with celiac disease. But many folks say sprouted grains feel gentler on their stomach. Ancient farmers wouldn't have said the word enzyme, but their practices made food work better. That theme pops up again and again. Let's make this real right now. Picture a warm bowl on a Tuesday night, barley simmered till tender, a scoop of lentils, a spoon of millet, a drizzle of olive oil, a squeeze of lemon, a pinch of herbs, and salt. In one bowl, you just solved the protein puzzle the simple way. You don't need a lab coat, you need a pot and a spoon. Okay, look over at the honey jar. Most people see sugar and think, well, that's that. But in modern clinics, special clean honey used for medical care, especially a type called manuka, is used on some wounds and burns. Honey pulls fluid out of the wound, makes the area a little more acidic, and slows down certain germs. Picture a sticky shield that helps the skin's little repair crew do its job. Manuka honey has a natural ingredient that helps explain this. And honey also carries tiny peptides, little protein bits that fight bacteria. That's not folk magic, that's wound care teams and real studies saying in the right situation, this helps. What about that nighttime cough? For kids over 1 year old and for adults, a spoon of honey has been shown in several trials to calm coughs better than some common syrups. It coats the throat and reduces irritation. Here's an important safety rule: never give honey to infants under 12 months because of a rare but serious germ risk. For everyone else, a teaspoon in warm water with lemon can be a gentle helper on a school night. Here is a cool plot twist: honey isn't just sweet goo. Sometimes it belongs in a first aid kit and a healing cup of tea. Now let's visit that giant cluster scene, grapes and pomegranates and figs carried back to show how rich the land is. If you handed that basket to a lab today, they'd call it packed with polyphenols, which are plant compounds that help with cell signaling and stress. Grapes bring resveratrol and friends. Pomegranates bring large compounds called elegotannins that our bodies and gut bacteria can transform. Human trials show that pomegranate juice can nudge top and bottom blood pressure numbers down by a few points. Studies on grape compounds show small but real improvements in the rusting of bad cholesterol and a 1 to 2 point dip in blood pressure. That might sound tiny, but a 3 point drop held over time can be the difference between we're watching you and great job at your next doctor's checkup. Here's a nerdy fact for you. Your gut can turn those big pomegranate molecules into a smaller signal called urolithin A. Some people make more, some make less. That little signal has been studied for the tiny energy factories inside your cells and even for muscle performance in adults. So the magic isn't just in the bottle, it's in the teamwork between your food and your gut community. If you take medicines, especially ones that have tight safety windows, ask your clinician before you start a daily juice habit. The human data we have suggests pomegranate doesn't act like grapefruit with common cholesterol medicines, but it's always wise to personalize. Now, to the chewy, caramel sweet treasures, figs, and dates. They look like candy, I know, but they bring things candy doesn't. They bring fiber, minerals, and plant compounds your gut loves. Studies show fig products can help with constipation and improve bathroom rhythm. Dates have a blood sugar effect that's lower than most people expect, often in the gentle middle range. Trials, even including people living with type 2 diabetes, found that reasonable portions didn't worsen blood sugar control. Here's a trick from research on full meals. Pair the sweet with protein or fat and eat fiber first. 2 dates with a small handful of almonds. Figs with a dollop of Greek yogurt. Fruit after a protein rich meal instead of alone. That order helps flatten the sugar spike and smooth the way you feel an hour later. Your brain stays steadier and your choices feel easier. That's the real win. When you stop craving the whole bakery and are satisfied with a, healthy balanced meal. 2 grounding notes so we stay honest. First, serving size still matters. Figs and dates are energy dense. Second, if you've been told you have irritable bowel syndrome and you're doing that plan where you avoid carbs that ferment fast, both figs and dates can be triggers in bigger amounts. It isn't about morals, it's about chemistry. Work with your GI dietitian and watch portions. Many people can enjoy small amounts without trouble, but it does depend on the person. I promised a quick story, so here's one that stuck. I tried a 10-day breakfast experiment, 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil with my first meal. Nothing fancy, just 1 spoon. Here's how it went. I felt steadier between meals and not as snacky in the evening. That's my experience, but the lab story is even better. In short, human trials, scientists found extra virgin olive oil that's rich in bitter plant compounds has lowered cholesterol, the kind of cholesterol that tends to leave gunk in blood vessels, and it even helped the good cholesterol do its cleanup job better in as little as 3 weeks. Long-term diet studies suggest that Mediterranean style meals and extra virgin olive oil are linked to fewer big heart problems. The effect isn't about the calories in oil, it's about tiny plant molecules doing quiet work in your blood and vessel walls. Here's a fun taste test. That peppery tickle in your throat from really fresh, high quality olive oil, that's often a natural compound that nudges the same inflammation enzymes that a common pain reliever targets. If your oil makes you cough a little, you probably picked a good bottle. Choosing one can be simple. Look for the words extra virgin. If there's a harvest date, even better. Dark glass or a tin protects it from light. Taste it. A little bitterness and a little pepper usually mean more of those helpful plant compounds. Store it away from heat. Use it with food. Enjoy that something beautiful can also be powerful. Now let's talk salt. Scripture speaks of a covenant of salt, something steady and faithful. Inside your body, sodium and potassium keep a kind of covenant over your blood pressure and fluids. Too much sodium pushes pressure up. Getting more potassium from beans, leafy greens, potatoes, yogurt, and bananas helps ease it down. Health groups around the world keep saying the same thing: aim lower on sodium. But most of the extra toxic salt we eat hides in low quality packaged and restaurant foods, which are harmful to your overall health. If you have a good quality salt in your table shaker, you should be okay. Salt in general is not your enemy. It's poorly sourced salt that slowly kills. If you do nothing else, read one label this week on a packaged food item and choose the lower sodium option. Tiny choices stack up fast. Here's the grocery aisle twist almost no one mentions: sea salt, pink salt, kosher salt. Nearly all of them are just forms of sodium chloride. Those pretty colors carry trace minerals, but in such tiny amounts, they don't move your health needle. What does move the needle is iodine. Your thyroid needs iodine to make thyroid hormone. In many countries, ordinary table salt is iodized to help with that. Many fancy salts are not. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy them. It means rotate in a little iodized salt or make sure you get iodine from dairy, eggs, or seaweed. I'd rather your thyroid be happy than your salt be photogenic. There's also a more advanced move for some people. Some folks swap part of their table salt for a blend that includes potassium. In very large trials, these blends lowered blood pressure and even reduced strokes and other heart events. This isn't for everyone, though. If you have kidney disease or take medicines that raise potassium, probably skip that part unless your clinician says otherwise. But for many, it's a strong lever that costs less than a fancy coffee. Let's zoom out and connect the dots because the pattern is just too good. Deuteronomy lists 7 foods tied to the goodness of the land: wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey. Modern research keeps echoing that list. Grains plus legumes fill protein gaps, just like Ezekiel's logic predicted before we had fancy terms. Honey shows up not just in recipes, but in hospitals and cough studies. Grapes and pomegranates bring plant compounds that nudge blood pressure and cholesterol in better directions, partly by teaming up with your gut. Figs and dates help bathroom rhythm. And when you pair a couple of dates with nuts, the sugar ride is smoother. In olive oil starts shifting blood markers in weeks and shows protection when you zoom out to years. And the salt story pulls it together with balance. Now we know to use sodium, potassium, and iodine so your pressure and thyroid stay steady. Is that design or just a coincidence? Once you see the pattern, it's hard to unsee. Let's make this week ridiculously practical so you don't just learn, you feel it. Tonight, if you're cooking, add lentils to your grain bowl and squeeze lemon over the top. That handles the protein puzzle and helps your body use the iron. Tomorrow, swap your afternoon soda for a small glass of real pomegranate juice or grab a handful of grapes. The next day, try a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil with breakfast and pay attention to how you feel between meals. When your throat feels raw and you're over 1 year old, reach for a spoon of honey in warm lemon water. Keep 2 dates in your bag and a tiny pack of almonds next to them so the craving has a partner, not a crash. Read 2 labels in your pantry and choose the lower sodium version at least once. And sometime this week, pause before you eat. Breathe in slowly, breathe out even longer, and whisper, "Peace, be still." Gratitude is medicine for your nervous system. 2 quick examples before we land because real life examples stick. First, after trying the barley lentil bowl for 1 week, your 3 p.m. crash should disappear. You don't need to even change your coffee. Just change your base and give your body complementary proteins. Even though I will give you an amazing, healthy, and delicious coffee recipe soon. And second, if you take a spoon full of olive oil for 10 days, you won't be craving snacks between meetings. You will probably think your willpower is getting stronger, but turns out it's the oil. I love those because they aren't extreme. No cleanse, no guilt, just quiet changes doing loud work. If anything today stirred you, try one experiment, not seven. One, notice how your body responds. Share it with someone you love. That's stewardship in a kitchen, a bowl at a time. If today gave you one idea that makes your week calmer, comment the word design. If you're new here, welcome to Health by Design. We're building a community that makes feeling better feel simple. Follow, share this with a friend who needs a quick health crash course, and come back next episode. You weren't built for comfort, you were designed for more. Sleep in peace, eat with purpose, and I'll see you soon.